Lieutenant Kevin Harper stood at attention near the docking bay doors. His dress uniform felt too tight around the collar, and sweat formed on the back of his neck. Today was the most important day of his career, and he was terrified of making a mistake. The Volanthi Empire was sending their princess to visit the human section of Galactic Union Station. This was the first time any Volanthi royal had shown interest in humanity. Commander Lavra Bennett had explained the situation 3 times that morning. The alliance with the Volanthi could change everything for humans in the galaxy. They needed this to go perfectly. Danny Cole, Kevin's best friend and fellow security officer, stood beside him. Danny leaned over and whispered, "Relax, you look like you are about to pass out." "I might," Kevin admitted. "What if I say something wrong? What if I offend her?" "Just smile and say nothing. That is my plan for every diplomatic event." Kevin did not have time to respond. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. A group of tall aliens walked through, their skin a soft purple color that seemed to glow under the station lights. They moved with grace, their long robes flowing behind them like water. In the center of the group was Princess Thalira Vosandri. She was younger than Kevin expected, with large golden eyes that looked at everything with wonder. She wore a crown of silver metal that wrapped around her head like a vine. When she saw the humans waiting for her, she smiled wide. Commander Bennett stepped forward and bowed. "Your Highness, welcome to the human sector. We are honored by your visit." The princess returned the bow, but her eyes kept moving to the human officers behind Bennett. She seemed fascinated by them. Kevin noticed she was staring at him specifically. He tried to keep his face neutral. An older Volanthi male stepped beside the princess. His face was stern, and he carried himself like a man who had seen many battles. This was High Counselor Drenvok, the princess's advisor and protector. He looked at the humans with suspicion. "We thank you for receiving us," Drenvok said. His voice was deep and cold. "The princess has many questions about your species. She has been eager to meet humans in person." "Very eager," Thalira said. Her voice was musical, and she spoke the human language with only a slight accent. "I have watched many of your entertainment broadcasts. Humans are so interesting, so different from other species." Commander Bennett smiled politely. "We are happy to answer any questions you have, Your Highness." The princess nodded, but she was not looking at Bennett anymore. She was walking toward Kevin. The crowd of diplomats and officers parted to let her through. Kevin felt his heart beating faster with each step she took. Thalira stopped directly in front of him. She was taller than him by several inches. Her golden eyes studied his face with intense curiosity. Kevin did not know if he should speak or remain silent. "You," she said, pointing at his chest. "You are a warrior?" "I am a security officer, Your Highness," Kevin managed to say. "A protector." "Yes, I can see it in your eyes." She smiled again. "I have read that humans form bonds through shared experience, that you value those who show you their world." Kevin nodded slowly. "That is true, Your Highness." The princess moved even closer. She was now inches from his face. Kevin could smell something sweet coming from her skin, like flowers after rain. His brain told him to step back, but his training told him not to move. Then she said the words that would change everything. "Take me right here and now, human." The room went completely silent. Every person and alien in the docking bay froze. Kevin felt his face turn red. Danny made a choking sound behind him. Commander Bennett's smile disappeared. What?" Kevin stammered. "Take me," Thalira repeated, louder this time. She spread her arms wide. "Right here and now. I want you to take me." Ambassador Crix, a reptilian diplomat from a rival species, stepped forward. His thin lips curved into a smile. Well, it seems the humans have made quite an impression on the princess." Drenvok's face turned dark purple with what Kevin assumed was anger. "Princess, what are you saying?" "I am saying what humans say," Thalira replied. She looked confused by the reactions around her. "I watched their broadcasts. When humans want someone to show them experiences and share their culture, they say these words. I want this human to take me and show me his world." Kevin finally understood. The translation was wrong. Or rather, the princess had learned a phrase without understanding what it really meant to humans. "Your Highness," he said carefully, "that phrase means something different to humans." Different how? Kevin looked at Commander Bennett for help. She stepped forward quickly. "Perhaps we should discuss this in private, Your Highness. There seems to be a small cultural misunderstanding." But Ambassador Crix was already talking to other diplomats, his voice low and filled with fake concern. The damage was spreading. Cameras that had been recording the historic meeting had captured everything. Kevin could see reporters from different species already typing on their devices. Drenbach grabbed Kevin by the arm. His grip was strong enough to hurt. "What did you do to the princess? What human tricks have you used?" "Nothing," Kevin said. "I swear, this is a mistake. The only mistake was allowing humans near our royal family." Drenbach turned to Commander Bennett. "This insult will not be forgotten. The negotiations are suspended until we receive a full explanation." He pulled the princess away, surrounding her with guards. Thalira looked back at Kevin with confusion in her golden eyes. She still did not understand what had gone wrong. Commander Bennett waited until the Volanti were gone before turning to Kevin. Her face was pale. "Lieutenant Harper," she said quietly, "you have approximately 1 hour to help me fix this before humanity loses its most important alliance. Do you understand?" Kevin swallowed hard. "Yes, Commander." Danny put a hand on his shoulder. "For what it is worth, I do not think any training could have prepared you for that." Kevin watched the doors where the princess had disappeared. Somewhere behind them, a confused alien girl had accidentally started an intergalactic incident. And somehow, he was going to have to fix it. Kevin sat in a small conference room with Commander Bennett and 2 translation specialists. They had been working for 30 minutes to understand what had happened in the docking bay. The Volanti language uses touch and scent to add meaning to words, one specialist explained. When the princess said those words, she released pheromones that changed their meaning completely. To another Volanti, she was asking for a cultural experience. But our translators only captured the spoken words. Commander Bennett rubbed her temples. So she was asking him to show her around. Like a tour guide. Exactly. In Volanti culture, sharing experiences is how they form bonds. She was paying Lieutenant Harper a compliment by choosing him. Kevin felt some relief, but the problem was not solved. The other species do not know that. They think she was propositioning me. Ambassador Crix is making sure everyone hears the worst version of events, Bennett said. He has wanted humans out of the Union since we arrived. This is his perfect opportunity. A message appeared on Bennett's datapad. She read it and sighed. Drenbach wants to meet. He is demanding an explanation before the princess is allowed near any humans again. I should come, Kevin said. That might make things worse. Or it might help. The princess chose me for a reason. If I can explain human culture to her directly, maybe she can explain hers to me. We can fix this together. Bennett considered this for a moment. Fine, but if you make things worse, your career is over. Do you understand? Kevin understood perfectly. The meeting with Drenbach took place in a neutral chamber between the human and Volanti sections of the station. The High Counselor sat alone at a large table, his stern face showing no emotion. You have 5 minutes, he said when Kevin and Bennett entered. Commander Bennett spoke first. High Counselor, we deeply regret the confusion. Our translation technology failed to capture the full meaning of the princess's words. We understand now that she was requesting a cultural exchange. The princess was trying to honor your officer, Drenvok said. She believed she was using your own customs. Instead, she has been humiliated. No one thinks less of the princess, Kevin said. This was our failure, not hers. Drenvok looked at Kevin for a long moment. You speak directly. Humans often do this. It is strange to us. I mean no disrespect. I only want to fix this mistake. And how do you suggest we do that? The story is already spreading. Other species are laughing at the princess. At the Volanthi, Kevin took a deep breath. Let me actually do what the princess asked. Let me show her human culture. A real tour with proper explanations. We can show the galaxy that this was a misunderstanding and that humans and Volanthi are building a friendship. Drenvok was silent for a long time. Kevin could feel Commander Bennett's tension beside him. Finally, the High Counselor spoke. The princess has been asking the same thing. She wants to continue as if nothing happened. She says she will not let one mistake ruin her plans. She sounds very determined, Kevin said. She is young, but she is not foolish. She knows this alliance matters to her people. Drenvok leaned forward. I will allow this, but I will be watching. If you embarrass the princess again, there will be consequences. I understand. Drenvok stood up. She is waiting in the next room. She insisted on starting immediately. Kevin had not expected that. He looked at Commander Bennett, who nodded her approval. He walked to the side door and opened it. Princess Thalira was sitting on a cushioned bench, her hands folded in her lap. When she saw Kevin, she stood up quickly. Her expression was different now. She looked embarrassed and sad. Lieutenant Harper, she said softly, I owe you an apology. You do not owe me anything, Your Highness. I do. I thought I understood your culture. I studied your broadcasts for months, but I only learned the words, not the meanings behind them. She looked at the floor. I made you look foolish in front of everyone. Kevin smiled gently. Actually, I think I made myself look foolish. I should have understood what you meant. How could you? I said something that sounds very intimate in your language. Her purple skin turned slightly darker. Kevin realized she was blushing. When Drenvok explained it to me, I wanted to disappear. Well, you did not disappear. And neither did I. So maybe we can start over. Thalira looked up at him. You would do that? After I caused so much trouble? I think the trouble is not your fault or my fault. I think our people just do not understand each other yet. That is why you came here, right? To understand us? The princess smiled for the first time since the incident. Yes, that is exactly why I came. Then let me show you. Not because of politics or alliances. Just because you are curious, and I think that is a good thing. Thalira stepped closer to him. This time, Kevin did not feel nervous. In my culture, when someone offers to share their world with you, it is a sacred gift. You are being very kind. In my culture, we just call it being friendly. She laughed. It was a light, musical sound. Friendly. I like that word. We do not have that exact word in Volanthi. The closest translation is something like pre-bonded companion. It sounds much less warm. Kevin gestured toward the door. Well, friend, should we start the tour? I promise to explain any phrases before you try to use them. Thalira walked beside him as they left the room. Drenvok followed at a distance, watching but not interfering. There is one thing I must ask, Thalira said as they walked through the corridor. Anything. What does that phrase actually mean to humans? The one I said? Kevin felt his face grow warm again. I will explain later. Much later. When we know each other better. The princess nodded seriously. It must be very important if it causes such strong reactions. You have no idea. Kevin muttered behind them. Danny Cole fell into step with the group. He leaned toward Kevin and whispered, "This is either going to be the greatest diplomatic success in human history or the funniest disaster. Either way, I am not missing it." Kevin could not argue with that. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the seats, their different forms creating a sea of colors and shapes. Kevin stood at the human delegation's area with Commander Bennett and Danny. His dress uniform felt even tighter than before. Today, he would speak in front of the entire galaxy. Ambassador Crix had filed a formal complaint against humanity. He claimed that humans had manipulated the Volanthi princess for political gain. He demanded that humans be stripped of their union membership. "This is serious," Commander Bennett said quietly. "Crix has been building support for days. Several species are ready to vote against us." "What happens if we lose?" Danny asked. "Humanity becomes isolated. No trade agreements. No protection. We become outsiders in our own galaxy." Kevin watched as Crix took the central platform. The reptilian ambassador moved with confidence. He knew he had the advantage. "Fellow council members," Crix began, "we have all seen the recordings. A human officer, standing in what should have been a formal diplomatic reception, received an inappropriate proposal from Princess Thalira. Rather than correcting this situation, the humans used it to gain access to the princess. They have spent days filling her head with their culture, their games, their food. This is manipulation of the highest order." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Kevin saw many heads nodding in agreement. "Humans have only been part of this union for 12 years, Crix continued. "In that time, they have pushed themselves into every corner of galactic society. They breed quickly. They adapt quickly. They take what they want without considering others. Is this the species we want as equals? I say no." He pointed at the human delegation. "I say we must protect ourselves before these humans spread too far, before they manipulate more innocent species, before they become a threat we cannot control." The chamber erupted in noise. Some species shouted agreement. Others called for calm. Kevin felt sick to his stomach. Commander Bennett stepped forward. "We request the right to respond." The council moderator, a floating being made of pure light, gestured for silence. "The human delegation may speak." Bennett walked to the central platform. She looked small against the massive chamber, but her voice was steady. "Ambassador Crix speaks of manipulation. He speaks of threats, but what evidence does he offer? A translation error. A young princess who was curious about a new species. A cultural exchange that, by all accounts, has been peaceful and educational." She turned to face Crix directly. "The ambassador says humans adapt quickly. He says we spread ourselves through galactic society. Is this not what every species does? Is survival and growth suddenly a crime?" "It is when you deceive others to achieve it," Crix shot back. "We deceive no one. Lieutenant Harper has been honest with the princess from the beginning. He showed her our culture without hiding our flaws. That is not manipulation. That is friendship." Crix laughed. "Friendship? Such a human concept." Commander, do humans not use friendship to gain advantage? Do you not form bonds only to exploit them later?" Before Bennett could respond, a new voice echoed through the chamber. "May I speak?" Everyone turned. Princess Thalira stood at the Volanthi section, her hand raised. Beside her, Drenvok looked concerned but did not stop her. The moderator floated toward her. "This is unusual. Volanthi royalty does not typically participate in council debates." "I am making an exception," Thalira said. "Since this debate is about me, I believe I have the right to speak for myself." The moderator considered this. Very well. The princes may address the council. Thalira walked to the central platform. She moved with grace, but Kevin could see her hands trembling slightly. She was nervous, but she was also determined. I came to this station because I wanted to understand humans, she began. My people are considering an alliance with them, and I wanted to see what kind of species they truly are. Not from reports or broadcasts, but from direct experience. She looked at Crix. The ambassador says I was manipulated. He says the humans use my mistake to gain access to me. But I am not a fool. I am a princess of the Volanthi Empire. I have been trained since birth to recognize deception. Her voice grew stronger. What I found in the human section was not deception. When I made my error with their language, Lieutenant Harper did not try to take advantage. He was embarrassed, yes. Confused, yes. But his first thought was to fix the misunderstanding. His first concern was for my dignity. She walked to the edge of the platform, looking out at the assembled species. When I spent time with humans, they showed me their food, their games, their art. They did not hide their strangeness. They laughed at themselves. They invited me to laugh with them. Is this the behavior of manipulators? Crix stepped forward. The princess is young. She does not understand how these things work. The humans are simply more skilled at hiding their intentions. Thalira spun to face him. Do not speak to me as if I am a child, Ambassador. I know exactly what is happening here. You fear humans. Your species has feared them since they first arrived in this galaxy. You spread rumors about them. You block their trade agreements. You vote against them at every opportunity. And now you use my visit as another weapon against them. The chamber went silent. No one had expected the princess to attack Crix so directly. Why do you fear them so much? Thalira continued. Is it because they remind you of your own species before you join the Union? Young and aggressive and hungry for growth? Or is it because you know that humans will succeed, and you cannot stand to watch it happen? Crix's face twisted with anger. This is ridiculous. The princess has been corrupted by human influence. She does not speak for the Volanthi. Actually, a deep voice said, she does. High Counselor Drenvok stood from his seat. I have observed every moment of the princess's time with the humans. I have watched Lieutenant Harper closely, and I have seen nothing that suggests manipulation or corruption. I have only seen honesty, kindness, and genuine curiosity. He walked to stand beside Thalira. The Volanthi Empire supports continuing relations with humanity. Furthermore, we propose a formal cultural exchange program between our peoples. The chamber exploded with noise. Some species cheered. Others shouted in protest. Crix looked like he wanted to disappear. The moderator called for order. We will vote on the ambassador's complaint. All those who believe humanity should lose its union membership, signal now. Kevin held his breath. Across the chamber, lights began appearing as species cast their votes. The count appeared on a massive screen. Against humanity, 47%. For humanity, 53%. They had won. By a small margin, but they had won. Commander Bennett closed her eyes in relief. Danny let out a loud breath. Kevin felt his legs go weak. Thalira caught his eye from across the chamber. She smiled and nodded once. He nodded back. They had survived. But Kevin knew this was only the beginning. Ambassador Crix was already leaving, his face dark with anger. He would not give up this easily. The battle for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from over. But today, at least, they had proven they belonged. The human section of the station was not large, but it was filled with life. Kevin led Princess Thalira through the corridors, pointing out the small details that made this place feel like home. We brought plants from Earth, he explained, gesturing to the green leaves growing in boxes along the walls. Most species think it is strange, Why waste resources on decoration? But humans need to see living things around them. It keeps us calm. Thalira touched one of the leaves gently. They are beautiful. On our world, plants are purple and blue. I have never seen green before except in your broadcasts. Earth has many colors. Green forests, blue oceans, white mountains covered in snow. Kevin smiled at the memory. I miss it sometimes. You are far from your home. All humans on this station are. But we carry pieces of home with us. They reached the mess hall, where dozens of humans were eating and talking. The noise dropped slightly when people noticed the princess, but Kevin waved at them to continue. Slowly, conversations resumed. This is where we eat, Kevin said. Would you like to try some human food? Thalira's eyes widened with excitement. Yes, please. I have always wondered what humans taste like. Danny, who had been walking behind them, choked on his own breath. Kevin quickly intervened. What human food tastes like, he corrected gently. We do not eat humans. That would be very bad. The princess covered her mouth with her hand. I did it again. The translator changes my words. It is fine. I understood what you meant. Kevin led her to the serving area. Let us start with something simple. Have you ever tried bread? He handed her a small roll. Thalira examined it carefully before taking a tiny bite. Her expression changed from curiosity to surprise. It is soft inside but firm outside. And the taste is... She searched for the right word. Comforting. Like something a mother would make. That is exactly what bread is for most humans. Comfort food. Almost every human culture has some form of bread. They moved through the line, and Kevin added small samples of different foods to her tray. Some she loved. Others made her face twist in confusion. When she tried a pickle, she made a sound that Kevin could only describe as offended. Why would you eat something so aggressive? She asked. Humans like strong flavors. We come from a planet where we had to eat whatever we could find. Our tongues adapted to enjoy many different tastes, even strange ones. Drenbach appeared beside them. I must admit, I am impressed by human variety. Most species settle on optimal nutrition and never change. Humans seem to eat for pleasure. We do many things for pleasure, Kevin said. Which brings us to the next stop. He led them to the recreation room. Inside, humans were engaged in various activities. Some played games on screens. Others threw balls back and forth. A group in the corner was playing cards and laughing loudly. What is this place? Thalira asked. This is where we relax. Where we have fun. Fun. She said the word slowly, as if tasting it. We have a similar concept. But for Valanti, it usually involves group meditation or artistic performance. This is so active. Kevin pointed to the card players. Those men are playing a game. The goal is to collect certain cards and win points. And what do they gain from winning? Nothing. Just the satisfaction of winning. Thalira looked confused. They spend time and energy on something that gives no reward? The joy is the reward. Kevin thought about how to explain it better. Humans play games because the struggle itself is enjoyable. We like challenges even when they serve no practical purpose. The princes walked closer to watch the game. The card players noticed her and froze mid-hand. Please continue, she said. I want to observe. One of the men, an engineer named Bobby Torres, looked at Kevin nervously. Kevin nodded to tell him it was okay. Bobby turned back to his cards. All right, boys. Let us show the princess how this is done. The game continued, and Thalira watched with growing interest. She asked questions about the rules and the strategies. When Bobby won the hand, she clapped her hands together. I understand now, she said. The uncertainty creates excitement. You do not know who will win until the end. It is like a story. Exactly, Kevin said. Humans love stories. We love not knowing what happens next. Bobby offered the princess a seat. Would you like to try, Your Highness? Talira looked at Kevin. Would that be appropriate? I think it would be perfect. She sat down, and the men dealt her into the next hand. At first, she struggled with the rules. She lost badly and seemed frustrated. But by the third hand, something changed. She started laughing at her own mistakes. She teased the other players when they made errors. By the fifth hand, she won. I did it, she shouted, jumping up from her seat. I achieved victory. The entire recreation room cheered. Talira stood there, surrounded by applauding humans, with the brightest smile Kevin had ever seen. For a moment, she was not a princess. She was just a person having fun. Drenvok stepped beside Kevin. I have not seen her this happy in years. The pressure of royalty weighs on her constantly. Everyone needs to play sometimes, Kevin said. Even princesses. Your species is strange, Lieutenant. You waste time on games and eat food that attacks your tongue. You keep plants that serve no purpose. And yet, he paused, struggling with his words. And yet you seem more alive than any species I've met. Kevin was not sure how to respond to that. But before he could speak, a commotion arose at the entrance. Ambassador Crix walked in, followed by several other diplomats. How touching, Crix said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. The prince is playing games with common humans. What would the Volanthi people think if they saw their royal heir gambling with aliens? The warmth in the room vanished. Talira's smile disappeared. She stood tall and faced the ambassador directly. They would think, she said coldly, that their princess is doing exactly what she came here to do, learning about potential allies. Allies? Crix laughed. These humans cannot even communicate without causing scandals. They are unfit for the Union. Everyone knows it. Talira stepped toward him. Despite her youth, she suddenly looked every bit the royal heir. Everyone knows what you tell them, Ambassador. But I am here to find the truth for myself. And so far, I like what I have found. The room was silent. Crix's smile faded slightly. He had not expected the princess to fight back. We shall see, he said finally. The council will decide what to think of your friendship with the humans. He turned and left. The diplomats followed him like shadows. Talira let out a long breath. I may have made things more complicated. Kevin shook his head. No, you made things very clear. I think you made some friends today. Bobby Torres stood up and bowed awkwardly. Anytime you want to play cards, Your Highness, you are welcome at our table. The other players nodded in agreement. Talira looked at them, then at Kevin, and smiled again. Humans, she said softly. You really are fascinating. 3 days after the council vote, Kevin stood in a small kitchen in the human section. He was cooking, or rather he was trying to cook. You are burning something, Danny said from the doorway. Kevin grabbed the pan and pulled it off the heat. The eggs were slightly brown on the bottom, but they were still edible. Probably. Why are you cooking anyway? Danny asked. We have perfectly good food dispensers. The bonding ceremony requires me to prepare a meal myself. It shows hospitality and effort. The Lanthi traditions are strange. So are human traditions. We shake hands when we meet. Do you know how many species find that terrifying? They think we are checking for hidden weapons. Danny laughed and left, Kevin to his cooking. The bonding ceremony was the final step in formalizing the Volanthi human cultural exchange. Talira had explained it to Kevin the day before. 2 representatives would spend a full day together, sharing experiences that represented their cultures. At the end, they would exchange tokens of friendship, and the alliance would be official. Kevin had chosen to represent humanity. Part of him felt unqualified. He was just a security officer. But Thalira had insisted. She said she wanted to complete the journey with the person who started it. He finished preparing the food and arranged it on a simple tray. Bread, eggs, fresh fruit, and a small pot of coffee. Basic human breakfast. Nothing fancy, but honest. Thalira arrived exactly on time. She wore a simple dress instead of her royal robes. Without her crown, she looked younger, more relaxed. "Lieutenant Harper," she said formally. Then she smiled. "Kevin, Your Highness." He returned the smile. "Thalira, is that breakfast?" "It smells wonderful." They sat together at a small table. Kevin served her the food and poured the coffee. She took a careful sip. "I remember this drink," she said. "The last time I had it, I could not stop moving for hours. I made this one weaker. I learned my lesson." They ate in comfortable silence. Outside the window, stars drifted slowly past. The station rotated on its axis, giving the illusion of movement through space. "Can I ask you something?" Thalira said, "Of course. Why do humans explore space? Your planet has everything you need. Food, water, shelter. Why leave?" Kevin thought about the question. It was something he had never really considered before. "I think we are afraid of being alone," he said finally. "Our planet is small. Our lives are short. We look at the stars and wonder if there is anyone else out there. If we matter in the great emptiness. And when you found other species, we were terrified at first, then excited. Then we realized that every species is just as lost as we are. Everyone is looking for connection. Everyone is afraid of being forgotten." Thalira nodded slowly. "My people have been in space for thousands of years. We have forgotten what it felt like to be new, to be afraid. Watching humanity reminds us of our own beginnings." She reached across the table and touched his hand. In Valamphi culture, this was a gesture of deep respect. "Thank you for reminding us," she said. After breakfast, Kevin took Thalira to the observation deck. It was the highest point in the human section, with windows that stretched from floor to ceiling. From here, you could see the curve of the galaxy itself. "We come here when we miss home," Kevin explained. "We look at the stars and try to find Sol, our sun. It is too far to see with normal eyes, but knowing it is out there helps." Thalira stood at the window, her reflection ghostly against the stars. "Do you miss Earth?" "Every day. But I know I made the right choice coming here. Some things are more important than comfort." "What things?" Kevin joined her at the window. "Purpose, connection, the feeling that what you do matters. I would rather live far from home doing something important than stay safe doing nothing at all." "You sound like a philosopher." "I sound like a human. We all feel this way. It is written into our blood." They watched the stars together in silence. Somewhere out there, billions of humans were living their lives. Working, dreaming, hoping. Each one carrying the same need to matter. To be remembered. "I must tell you something," Thalira said quietly. Kevin looked at her. "When I first came to this station, I was testing you. All of you. My father wanted to know if humans were worthy of an alliance. He sent me to find their weaknesses. And what did you find? I found that your weaknesses are also your strengths. You are emotional, but that makes you passionate. You are short-lived, but that makes you urgent. You are sometimes foolish, but that makes you brave." She turned to face him. "I was supposed to find reasons to reject humanity. Instead, I found reasons to embrace you." Kevin felt something warm in his chest. Not romantic. Something deeper. Understanding. "I was scared when you first said those words," he admitted. "Not because I thought you meant something bad, but because I knew that moment would define everything that came after. If I made the wrong move, humanity would suffer. But you made the right move. You were honest. You were kind. You were human. Is that a compliment? The highest compliment I know how to give. The ceremony concluded in the recreation room, surrounded by humans and Volanthi alike. Commander Bennett stood with High Counselor Drenvok. Danny stood with a group of officers. Bobby Torres and his card-playing friends had claimed the best seats. Solera presented, Kevin with a small crystal that glowed with soft purple light. This is a memory stone. It records the emotions of the person who holds it. Every Volanthi receives one at birth. I am giving you mine so that you will always carry a piece of my feelings with you. Kevin had prepared his own gift. He pulled out a small box and opened it. Inside was an old compass, its needle spinning slowly before pointing toward the window. This belonged to my grandfather, he said. He was an explorer on Earth before we knew about other species. He used this to find his way home when he was lost. I want you to have it so you always remember that you have a home among humans. Thalira took the compass carefully. Her golden eyes were wet with tears she was trying not to shed. I do not know what to say. You do not have to say anything. Just remember us. That is all any human really wants. The crowd cheered. Humans and Volanthi stood together, applauding the moment that changed everything. Months later, Kevin stood at the same docking bay where it had all begun. Ships came and went, carrying diplomats and traders from across the galaxy. The human section of the station had grown. More species wanted to learn about this strange, emotional, coffee-drinking people. He heard footsteps behind him and turned. Thalira walked toward him, her crown back on her head, but her smile as warm as ever. Lieutenant Harper, she said formally, loud enough for others to hear. I have come to make a request. Kevin felt the eyes of everyone in the bay turn toward them. He saw Danny in the corner, already grinning. What request, Your Highness? Thalira stopped in front of him. Her eyes sparkled with amusement. Take me right here and now, human. I wish to see your coffee machine. I have heard you got a new one. The bay erupted in laughter. Kevin shook his head, unable to hide his own smile. Right this way, Your Highness. The coffee is fresh. As they walked together toward the human section, Kevin realized that this was what humanity had always been searching for. Not power or territory or dominance. Just this. Connection across the void. Friendship among the stars. And sometimes that friendship started with the strangest words.